Hello and welcome to Saturday Morning with Stella. I'm Stela Saltaga. With all these stressful finals coming up, today's show is going to be on how different students are handling finals. And we're also going to give you some helpful hints on how to survive this year. So let's introduce our first guest, Garrett.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, a little bit tired, but you know, with finals coming up and stuff, that's pretty normal.
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure everyone's living off coffee for the next couple of weeks.
That's pretty much what I do, and Monster energy drinks and you know, whatever.
Coffee and energy drinks, yep.
Yeah.
Have you been in the library a lot?
Actually, not much. This year is mostly home, where I'm studying, which is nice because last semester I had a lot of English classes, so I had to spend hours in the library, like checking out books, being on the computers, and yeah, kind of annoying.
So is your home, is it a good study space? Like, is it pretty?
Yeah, because I mean, I have my own room and I can just like close the door if I want privacy, and I can put my headphones on, like maybe play some classical music, and just work from there.
Have you been doing a lot to prepare for finals?
Yes. I think you would say the main thing that I do is just take notes, and then I look over the notes. Also, like for one of my classes this semester, my professor actually posts on Blackboard the slideshow sheets that he put up during the lecture, so I can also pull those up and make sure that I copied all that down on my notes and studied from that. Also open my textbook because in this class it's an introduction to classical music and pretty much the history of music in general and how it came up and stuff. So like for stuff like Beethoven, Bach, and I need to know like what he did, what he was known for and stuff.
Right.
I make sure to put little notes in my notebook of what page they talk about him so that I can study.
That's a good idea, putting notes and everything. Are your teachers pretty helpful to help you get prepared for finals?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, actually the only class which they aren't very helpful is my music class, but that's because it's a class of 165 students. So very understandable that he will not have a lot of time to help me if I'm having a huge problem. Yeah, so it's easier to just make it easy in the first place. Yeah.
Have you had any really bad experiences with finals yet?
Not yet. Right now I have a 3.5 GPA, trying to keep it there. Gets difficult at times, but
that's good. Yeah. Are you a lot more stressed out about finals than you are about midterms, or pretty equal maybe?
What I've learned in my college education is do not freak out about finals. Just know that when you walk into finals that you know what you know, and what you don't know, you don't know. And if you do not do well on your tests, try better than the next time.
Right.
And just have it as a lesson.
Right. See, I'm not a fan of cumulative tests. I mean, how do you feel about those? I understand the concept of they want to make sure you remember everything throughout the whole year, but then I feel like it's a lot more stressful with like all the new material plus remembering everything else too.
Yeah, personally, I hate those tests because, like, I don't know. It's like in college, it's rushed education. Because, like, for example, and this was actually one class that I dropped out of because actually I should have told you about that. There was one professor, my Japanese professor. He came straight from Japan, so you know he has a completely different culture and stuff. I mean, I also lived in Japan, but that's for another time. But their culture is do the best of the best, and pretty much studying is your life when you're in school.
That's understandable.
So for him with Japanese, it was like, I want you to do, what was it? It was memorize katakana and hiragana, which are the two different alphabets of Japanese, and I want you to be able to write it and know it and say it within a month. So
that takes a lot of studying then.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm sure. So coming up, we actually have a lot of helpful hints for how to get through this studying. So I'm going to let you keep listening to those, and maybe that'll help out for the next time.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. So now we're going to go over helpful hints. First of all, it helps a lot to make a checklist. It's going to keep you a lot more stress-free because then you'll know exactly what you need to do and you won't forget anything. For example, write down Tuesday, math final, Wednesday, history final, or whatever finals you have, and then you can schedule in other things. It'll keep you right on track. Clear your space. It's actually been proven that by being in a clean space, you can focus better because you don't have all the clutter around to distract you. So before you start studying, clean your room, clean your house, get it all taken care of. That way you can sit down and focus. Or even go to the library, which is already clear and clutter-free, hopefully. Prioritize. Everyone is a little bit worse at certain subjects than they are at others, so make sure that you have enough time to study for which tests you want to study for the most. Obviously, study for all of your tests, but if you have a harder time with, let's say, math than English, you're going to want to put in more study hours into math. And also don't forget to do other things, I feel like a lot of my friends sometimes don't think meals are so important anymore, or sleep. So you got to make sure and keep doing that because you don't want to crash right before all of your important tests. Another thing that goes along with that is eating healthy. If you stock up on tons of junk food or even coffee, I know coffee helps a lot, but it comes with the crash. So you don't want to be hyped up on coffee for days and then go in and fall asleep in the middle of your final or something. Although I'm not saying the coffee is not going to help. I know some people swear by coffee at finals time. Also, it helps if you keep a snack around while you're studying. Personally, it helps me concentrate for whatever reason. Just kind of having a little going around with that. Keep in touch with your teachers. They actually really want to help you. So if you keep in touch with your teachers and you can ask them questions and get some helpful hints on what might be on the final or what you need to do to really prepare yourself. And then most importantly, stay calm. If you overstress yourself and freak out about finals, it's not going to help at all. It'll actually make things worse because you won't go into it with a confidence. And by stressing yourself out, you can literally forget things just because you'll be thinking of all the things you don't know and what's going to happen if you fail and all of that. So, yeah, those are some helpful hints. And coming up now, we're going to introduce on our next guest. This is Daniel.
Hi there, Stella.
Hello, Daniel. So, you are not a traditional student, right?
That's correct.
Okay, well, when did you go to school last? Or
last before
right now, yeah.
Well, that should be a simple question, but it's actually not. I've kind of gone back and forth to school many different times over the past 20 years. When I actually went as a full-time student to get a degree I finished that probably 13 years ago. So that's probably the best answer.
Okay.
But I've done some school since then also.
Okay. And so did you take finals then too?
They actually didn't have finals back. No, yeah, I did. They did have finals back then. And I've taken many, many finals.
Okay. So would you say they're pretty much the same as they are now, or have they changed at all?
I'd say the finals are the same, but a lot of the actual school semester is different with a lot of just different technologies available. But from what I've seen, finals they're about the same.
Okay. And it's still stressful, still have to study a lot, nothing's changed there.
You know, I definitely see that in other people that aren't younger people, you know, like I was back then. As somebody that's, you know, done it all before and is older in life and has a more broad view of life, it doesn't stress you out nearly as much. Not that you don't care, but in a way it's nowhere near as important in your life because you have a lot of other things going on in life also. And like Garrett said, I mean, you either know it or you don't.
Yeah.
So the best way to study for finals is to keep up on your work throughout the semester.
That's a very good hint, or tip, I guess. So you were talking about how technology has changed. Would you say that's helping a lot in this sense, or was it better when you had to look through books, because then you kind of had to put in more of an effort, I think?
Yeah, you know, the main thing I think that's changed is that it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you always have access. Access is much easier, but you're also always on then. You know, you're always accessing things, whether it's for school or in other things in life. You know, everyone's got their phone and their laptops and all these other things where you're connected to the internet, and that's most of it right there. And you talked about burnout, and you know, if you caffeinated, that's great, except for if you crash beforehand. Well, you could definitely get even without anything like a sugar or a caffeine crash, you could just have too much information that's gone into your brain that by the time a final comes, if you haven't had any downtime, it doesn't work nearly as well as it should. So that goes back to the you know, studying throughout the whole semester and just being more regulated in what you do, because that cramming for a test, it's a hit or miss thing, whether it's going to work or not.
Right.
And all those studies say you don't retain that knowledge anyway.
That's true. So you were talking about having the access to all like different things. Because I know in countless times I'll go to the library and see people who are there to study, but they'll be on Facebook or, you know, looking up funny pictures or something like that.
Even in class, people are doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of listening to the professor, they're like, oh, what's going on Facebook and stuff. So, I mean, do you think there's a way to fix that? Like,
oh, I don't think it's fixable. It's just our society. I mean, it's beyond education and college and school. I mean, it's where our whole society has gone to, and I think we just adjust to it best each individual can. And I'm sure, you know, universities and other organizations, you know, put policies in place that try to deal with it. Like there's the policies that you don't sit there on Facebook in a class, but still people do it.
Well, I mean, it would help if you had to do a math problem every day to get onto Facebook or something, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, Daniel, it sounds like you have a pretty good start in your finals, so.
Well, let's hope so.
Yeah, well, good luck, though. And also good luck to everyone else, but that's all the time we have for today. So hopefully we've given you some good hints and tips on how to survive finals this year. Make sure and join us again next time.